So we are just before Christmas 2024. And Sarah, I met Sarah some time ago in London, a couple of weeks, I think ago. And we had coffee and she started talking about her and Michelle was starting to launch something called the Growth Collective. And I say, so what is that about? And it's actually about how we actually become better leaders, actually how we become better at leading ourselves, more important. It's a subject I talk a lot about on the show and something I'm very interested in. And lots of you guys have heard me about talking about resilience, stoicism, and all those things, and actually how it actually helped me through some very, very difficult times. But actually, you have to meet these people and you have to get the coaching of people to actually build, the better version of yourself. So you actually become a better leader because start with yourself. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So welcome back, Sarah, and welcome to the show, Michelle. Sarah, talk a bit about what is the Growth Collective about and why are we sitting here today?
Thank you for having us, Michael. It is a great pleasure to be on a screen with you again. And as you said, we met a couple of weeks ago in Watch House in Hanover, which coincidentally is the first place that Michelle and I met. So it was a bit of a trip down memory lane. Yeah. So yeah, it's really great to be here and to be able to talk about what we've created, which is launching next year. So some backstory would probably be helpful. When I launched the business just over a year ago, I had 3 main goals. So the first was the overarching mission, if you like, is to create a new reality where coaching and mentoring is a way of life for leaders in hospitality and retail. Mm-hmm. That's thing 1, which remains the mission. Thing 2 was to trust myself and establish myself as a coach in this new season of my career, which has largely for the last 30 years been as an operator, whether that's, started as a general manager up to running a business backed by MB, but I still class myself as an operator and still do to a certain extent. So that was really the second goal, establish myself and trust myself as a coach in this new space of learning and development, a new space for me. And then the last one was to launch an online group coaching program specifically for leaders in our industry. And I think, as we do as humans, I had in my mind as I was going through the year, that's a January thing. That's next year. And for whatever reason, it has ended up being launching next year. But I think it was coming to the middle of the summer, and Michelle and I, by chance, started chatting over on LinkedIn, which is the chosen platform, I think, for both of us, for sure now. It's kind of how we show up and how we communicate and how we build our businesses and connect with people and build a community. And we just started just by chance commenting on each other's posts. And I think, Michelle, I commented on something which was about musicals, which we both love. We didn't know. So this relationship is about 3 months old. Yeah. So Michelle, I commented on something to do with musicals. Michelle said, I think we should meet. And we did. We met at the Watch House in Hanover. And at that stage, it was just a chat. We shared so much. There was so much attunement. There was so much alignment. There was so much that we both believed in. There's so much honesty. If we'd have had a longer than an hour, I'm sure there'd have been tears as well. There was just such an amazing conversation. And then I went off on holiday. And as you do when you stop and you reset, I thought, I wonder whether it should be something we could do together. And that's when the conversation started.
And Michelle, what is your that moment? What was your experience of that, and where you found out that you need to go and create this program together for operator leaders in the hospitality industry?
Well, I think Sarah it was aligned. You meet to I think the key thing about and why we do support LinkedIn for growing community for everyone to have these conversations, for us, like you, Michael, to share our knowledge and our experience, and a platform for people, whether to a wider community or just one-on-one, like me and Sarah. This idea of generosity within our industry that is often given to our guests, and sometimes we miss it between ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I think LinkedIn has become there's loads of people on there smashing it in terms of this generosity piece. So I think it started when we met, and we just, we're at similar ages. We've had a similar career trajectory. The honesty is really important when you're setting up businesses on your own or reestablishing your identity. You want somebody to share it with that's going to tell you as it is, and not, sugarcoat it or put some sprinkles and glitter on it, which I'm all here for the glitter. Though you need the reality and the brutal facts of it too. And I think there was just an honesty. And then Sarah shared her mission. We are operators. So we're now going into this development, or we are now in this development sector of the industry, though we come from operations through and through. So when she shared a mission about how do we get to that group who need so much, and I think all the mistakes we made ourselves, especially me, that I've had to and I'm with you on it, I've had to self-teach myself, where I have all of these books from the mistakes I was making, and nobody really being able to articulate when I was getting it right, when I was getting it wrong, just pointing it out. And I think there's this opportunity. And so when she mentioned about this group coaching, I already do group coaching with my own clients internally. I've seen the power and the impact that it has, not just for them, for their colleague. It's Sarah coined the ripple effect it has is insane. And then when she said we could, spread this message even more and get this accessible to a wider group of people, I was like, yeah. As she asked, are you a hell yes? And I said, yes, I'm a hell yes. Our job is to give people opportunities to be able to be more than they ever imagined themselves. And that's part of the community and collective, as it is named.
And you're both really in my view at least, and that's why you're in the program, you're two really huge mavericks. There's going to be huge values in that itself when we get to the bit more to the program. But I actually wanted to start somewhere else, because what is actually the founding beliefs you have around this program that actually informs the way you have done it or plan to do it in the new year?
I think the key part of it is getting to the group who don't have the opportunity to have one-on-one coaching currently. I think that's a driver of who it is. If you are lucky enough to have one-to-one coaching, you understand the, peace of mind you get for having room to think. It's not like coaching is teaching you something. A lot of the time, coaching is just opening up the space for you to think about what you already know and be able to put it in some sort of order that gives you the confidence to be able to make the choices moving forward. And we have this group in the middle that are not getting that. It is a luxury and it is a privilege to have the one-to-one situation. And I think that's one of the main reasons, which is the group that are having a huge influence on leading our people, stepping into these roles without maybe these leadership skills at this moment in time, because experience and wisdom at the other end teaches you a lot. But how can we get in there sooner to be able to help them? I think that's one. What else?
Yeah, you're right. So it's providing that sense of community and a platform to make coaching and leadership accessible to operations leaders. And when I think back to myself as an operator, my days would tend to go, wake up in the morning, look at the daily sales, throw some food down the kids' throats, get on the tube. You might do some emails on the tube. If you're in the car, you'd be on the calls. And then how you planned your day to be, by and large, would be very, very different, because we operate as operators constantly in a fight or flight. There is always a whack-a-mole, a solution to a problem to solve, a solution to come up with. And then we get to the end of the day and it's very easy, unless we can regulate our nervous system. And we teach these tools on the program. Unless you can regulate your nervous system, it's very easy to tell yourself you haven't done a good job and you haven't had a great impact that day. So to be able to create and give access to a community of much, much needed, it is so needed in that space too, a time every single week that they are almost, I mean, I say it's an invitation, but you are, if you sign up to something, and particularly financially, whether it's sponsored by a business or you do it yourself, you're 10 times more committed to it than if you were just going to read a book or, listen to a podcast, etc. Or, kick that habit that you've been meaning to kick. If you show up for yourself for an hour a week, surrounded by like-minded individuals with a semi-structured leadership program and the fluidity of going with a group of people who know your lived experience really and kind of how you're showing up every day, know the challenges, and also can see and help each other through some of those difficulties and see the opportunities with the invisible hands of myself and Michelle and as such a time when, as you say, as we go into next year, when there is going to be another
panic,
more difficulties, a bit of panic, as you say, Michelle. It's like, okay, what next? And it's very easy for us to say, it's the industry, it's the financial crisis, it's the boss, it's the business. I've been doing this too long, but providing an opportunity where people can reflect inwards rather than blame externally is where the magic and gold really will then happen.
I think the name, when we did a few rounds of names, though it didn't take us too long to come up with it, and say what it is on the tin. We want you to grow and you're not on your own. That's it. That's why it's called the Growth Collective. We want you to grow. We're here to support you to grow, and you ain't doing it on your own. And I think that part of it with everything, them shared learnings and ideas, you are not on your own. You are not going through this on your own. We are going to be there. I love how you say an invisible hand. Sarah will be like the invisible Kira and I'll be the sledgehammer. The balance of the two of us. We're going.
Do you know what? I think that's a really, really good point, Michelle. One of the reasons initially where I thought, and I was toying with doing this on my own, of course, I've been as a client in a group coaching environment, and the impact of that on my personal life, my professional life, the relationships I have, the relationship I have with myself is enormous. And I had only ever seen somebody do it on their own. So in my mind, it was going to be like that and I would grow over the years. But actually recognizing how much of a greater impact we can have going together. And to Michelle's point of, we could not be more different, really. I'm think, talk. Michelle is talk, think. There's that kind of introvert, extrovert. She's jazz hands and glitter, and I'm kind of more considered. And because of that, we're going to be able to hit and target, not even target just from a sales point of view, be able to speak to people from a much wider audience, because in coaching one-to-one, I'm not going to be for everybody and everyone's not going to be for me. And the same with Michelle. We're not going to be right for everyone, but to do it collaboratively is where we really do see an impact.
And that's a beautiful point. Sometimes, when we'll become a safe space, hopefully, for it, though there isn't one right way. And sometimes if one person's lived in, or we're reading that one book and we think that's the answers to everything, it's not black and white, it's grey, it's many forms. So having the both of us there, people will be able to relate to different parts of us, our identities, our stories, and that there isn't what you can be successful as you are. And by having us both there, you get to see that it isn't just one way. Confidence is such an interesting word. Everybody wants to grow their confidence. We get told we need to grow our confidence. And it can look like, if you had a picture of it in a dictionary, me, loud, in your face, always stepping forward before when I needed to learn to step back. And that by having two views of what confidence looks like now, they hopefully can understand that you get to be you. And your most successful thing is being you. And we're showing you that these are versions of us and that there isn't one right way.
And I guess what's really like interesting, we're now touching on it, Michelle, like confident has so many shapes and it's really individual. How I was confident as a very young manager is very different how I would show up today.
Yeah.
And I'm very sorry the way I showed up in the past because
me too.
You thought you had to be very loud and controlling, but actually it's the totally opposite.
Yeah.
And it comes with wisdom and age and experience and cocking up things, literally. So how would you because I think lots of leaders goes into this job, in my view, especially what we're talking about here, operation. We're talking people in operation. They are, you can correct me, they are from ops director and down all the way out to the front line. They have the first level of manager responsibility. They are quite young, as myself, 19 years old, suddenly 60 people you're responsible for. And in principle, you read something in a book. I had some initial leadership training because it was a very great organization, but still, I didn't have mastery over myself. So of course, I got it wrong. So what are the typical things that you're bubbling on your mind as you're considering going into this program to get more confidence or be more you, as you said? What is happening in my world when I'm not in a good place? If people has to have some pinpoints as they're thinking, is this actually for me?
I mean, to your point on confidence, I believe it comes the very first step in and as Michelle said, there's so many different forms of this, but being comfortable in our own skin leads to confidence. And to be comfortable in our own skin, we must be self-aware and being aware of the space we create as leaders, and not just leaders, as parents, as sisters, as daughters, as brothers, how we show up and being aware of that space we create is the very first place to start. And when you build that awareness, you can start to see some of your behaviors. You can start to see how you show up. You can start to see your learnings through others. You can start to see the impact you have on other people. And it can be the most beautiful, messy journey, but enjoying the messiness of it is where you can truly grow into your confident self. And what that confidence looks like, as Michelle said, is very different for everyone.
And I think that's the point. I don't think, and again, half the reason you get to being a good leader is because you made so many mistakes, Michael, like you're saying, and I think I didn't realize the influence negatively I was having on people by my ferociousness. I just thought I would gun ho, let's get this done. I didn't realize I was just dragging everybody through. And it wasn't just that I was dragging them all through. It was that I couldn't handle the stress. I didn't have the vocabulary or the even awareness to even get to how do I even emotionally regulate myself. I didn't know where I was just in action. I was just doing. I was just responding. And I was trying to survive as best as I thought I could. And I think it's them types of things. And I think if you don't even know you're aware of that at the moment, it's things like look for dialogue you're saying. If you're somebody who's saying, I haven't got enough time, it's too busy, it's too much. If the stories you're telling yourselves are about limit or are about blame or are about scarcity in any form, this is going to be for you because we can move that. We can help you understand what them stories actually are and how they're actually opportunities for you to change your direction or how you respond, or even just putting things into perspective of it. So sometimes you don't even know where you are. You just got to understand what are the stories that I'm surrounded by currently. They might not even be your story. They might be what you're being told day in, day out. So you start believing what it is. And that belief is true. we can also, like Stoicism, the obstacle is the way. It can actually be what needs to be the shift. And then this program hopefully is going to help you understand, how are we going to have an influence? How are we going to be able to move this towards opportunity?
I'll just insert a bit on my own journey, because always, there was two things that did me become more aware. Up to that, I was just this, crazy, shouty ops person, I would call it as well, trying to control the ship. It was, I got a female boss. That was one thing. And then I met a guy who I went to university at the same time, and I was working part-time as a manager. And this guy came in and we had this lecture on 7 habits of highly effective people. And I was laughing a bit. What the hell is this about? That's not business. And it was probably, about 3 sessions in, he started to get my attention. And it was about, how do you see yourself and how does others see you? And there's this picture of the old lady and the young lady in the Stephen R. Covey book. And that really changed my view. But I was 23 at that point. So I had wasted 4 years of maybe actually damaging a bit my own results as a leader and slowing down my progression, but also made a bit of damage on other people, unconscious. And I think that's really the value of going on that journey as early as you can, because actually that's your only competitive edge as you increase yourself up to the ranks. Because everybody can learn to control the spreadsheet, but actually emotional regulate yourself, I think, and I just wanted to add that, is the biggest and best investment you can do in your work life and your private life.
And like when people do 360 feedbacks, which have a place if they are supported with the skill around them to understand what that means. And I think without a coaching element for you to understand, what bit can I take from it? Because, it is an opinion. And there's a truth in all opinions, but there's also context and complexity in it as well. And I think they can get lost in sort of a HR system if I'm going to give feedback, because I don't know how to emotionally regulate. I don't know what you're really trying to say to me, and I'm trying to protect myself. And this program as well will allow you to hear maybe certain things you didn't want to know about yourself and celebrate the stuff that you go, no, actually, I've got that. I have got that. Actually, I get to be confident in that state. And I don't think it's both sides of it. I don't think we own enough on either side because we don't know how to.
You've reminded me, I remember I was probably about 30 and I'd been on this leadership weekend with Watershed, that's run by Stephen Waters, still run by Stephen Waters. And we all had to walk around the garden and give each other feedback at the end of our weekend. And the feedback I got from an amazing woman called Danny was, "You're very complex." And at that stage, I was so, I think I think what we probably call masking now, but I was just terrified of showing my true self, because, if you ever did any insights profiling, I was always in the bottom left, wanting to be an extrovert, but was the quiet one that was practical, that was methodical, that was considered, etc. But I really wanted to be the one that was yellow and on my feet, etc. So never comfortable with that. So I got smaller and smaller and smaller. So I was coming across as complex, which I am. We all are complex. Now I celebrate. We're all complex. We're all complicated. Of course we're complex because we're all different, and being able to lean into that complexity and celebrate it too, and recognize that there is only one of us. These people, there is only one way that each one of us can do things, and to celebrate it rather than the things that we quite often tell ourselves, which might be, "Oh, I think too much," rather than, "Yeah, I think a lot." It just sounds different. I think a lot. I mean, just being able to not beat ourselves with these sticks of what we believe true leadership should be, because we just listen to our own voices and can't quite regulate them and can't quite see beyond what the world actually sees.
There was, I can't remember where it was somewhere this year. I'm sure Adam Grant would have talked about it, but he was saying about like the downfall of charismatic leaders. And I was devastated, first of all. You know, this is a win for me. What you want about? But anyway, but there was learnings in there that in every way, what's going to make you great is also something you're going to have to be aware of, because it's going to bite you in the bum too. You know, like there is all of that, and even being able to in these rooms and these safe rooms that we'll create for people, people being able to say something that they've never actually said aloud.
I was thinking, if I was the participant there, you know, why is it so critical? You know, maybe it's good for me, I develop, but why it's so critical in this? You're touching on it a bit. We're going into 2025. There's some challenges ahead, business-wise. So why is it so critical to learn these skills in the new era of hospitality? Because in principle, they are, some people will call them soft skills. You know, emotional intelligence. What do I need that for? You know, it's really hardcore business problems we had. I was talking a bit about it before, but why is it so critical to learn this right now?
I think I'd always talk about trying to ride uncertainty and step out of urgency. And with what's going on with the budget, if we think the last few years have been hard, owners are going into fear. Yeah, they're scared. And rightly so, because we don't know. Tonks just changed. What's the impact on that? A minimum wage is going up again. We don't know how we're going to, you know, this 10% we're going to have to make extra on top of it to be able to cover all the costs that are coming in. And in that, if owners are going into this year with fear, and even the most robust are looking like my P&L is not going to look as healthy next year, even if we're going in there at that luxury. Why this then becomes pullment, because this group that are in the operations, whether you're, you know, you don't have to be on the floor. You could be in the marketing department. You could be in the accounts department, you know. You are trying to manage, we say business, but people's emotional response to being scared of, am I going to survive this? And what's that going to look like? And this, it means that we're helping you build your toolbox, because no one's coming for you. This is the world we're living in currently at this moment in time. And we have to find a way. Though what we're going to do is collaboratively and collectively, we're going to build a toolbox to understand, to help you work out, how do I make the next steps forward so I get to forward as healthily and as safety and keeping my well-being as best I can during this troubling waters that are going to continue on.
Yeah, it's such a good point, because what I'm hearing when you say that is there are no more levers to pull on our P&L. There are none. We pulled them all during COVID and post-COVID. Like, we've looked at the minutiae detail of every single line on the P&L. There's nowhere else to go other than the lever of leadership. There is no other way to go other than this now. We've got nowhere else to go other than help provide an environment for our operations leaders who are isolated, who are the ones who have the greatest impact on the day-to-day. Yeah. And there is not, as we know, and we've talked about before, and in this room and in separate rooms, is how much control they have over the business, how much impact they can have on the business from a marketing point of view, from a people point of view, from a legislative point of view, from a guest point of view, from a sales, like they hold it all in their hands. So if they are feeling isolated, in our research from conversations and what we've seen and what we've heard in a coaching room and leadership programs that Michelle runs, is that they are feeling isolated and they are feeling alone and they are feeling like the unforgotten people of hospitality. So let's not forget them. Let's provide them with an opportunity, and whether it's the Growth Collective or not, it's something else. They are desperately in need of a space where they know that their problems are not only their own, they know that we can provide them with an environment to be able to understand their strengths. And when you understand your strengths and your blind spots, the impact you can have is limitless. And the ripple effect is huge on every part of our lives, personally, professionally, and in the business.
I got a thank you letter from someone's husband in the group. They said, she's just happier, you know. Yeah. And I was like, And then you go, I get a bit teary-eyed.
Right.
But you're like, this isn't, this is about you. This is about your team. This is about your business. This is about your community, and that's your family and where you live. Like, this is about society. We are such a huge industry that before our industry was about creating memories for people. And Adam Byatt at Trinity, who I work with, always says, now it's about, people are trying to escape. It's about escapism. We're trying to escape from what is going on at this moment in time. So whether we're going for just the pint of beer or whether we're going for a slap-up Michelin dinner, whatever we're choosing to spend that money, it is that moment of, I just want to escape from whatever is going on at this moment in time. And we might celebrate and we might create memories. And I think it's understanding that the power of, there might be only 30 people in this program, but there's a load of people are listening to podcasts. People are joining Counter Talk, Be Inclusive Hospitality. There is stuff out there. All of us just want to encourage people to know that don't do this on your own, though actively do something.
You said something interesting before, which actually been in my experience. So I've spent, as most on podcasts, spent quite huge of my career in McDonald's, and we had a turnaround of the Danish market, and we did all the P&L stuff as well. Everything you can pull in a very low performing market to turn around. You need to get to fix the fundamentals, the thing we call that part. And then we got to the part where, well, there's nothing more we really can pull in, and it's just going to destroy the business. And then we started looking at a marketing initiative, how do you create growth? But actually the key thing was we started trying to understand, what is it actually our leaders need to feel more in control of their businesses? So it's not the franchisee or the head office is trying to manage that. And we did like deep stat analysis on employee engagement service up against business performance numbers. And then we did some pilots on where we put in new, we call the performance management system principle. How we learned the franchisees how to coach their people better. We gave them some other tools to become better leadership groups. We implemented the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People on the leadership program, and we rolled that out. And what we saw in these, and this is over a 2-year period, was there was double-digit difference in the performance of restaurants that actually used the tools, went on the programs, and implemented. And all of it was actually about self-awareness and self-regulation. And that's, again, it was like one of the most powerful business cases I've ever seen. And also because I was part of implementing this and saw it working. And you could see these leaders stayed on for years and years and years, because suddenly they found out, I'm getting something I can't get anywhere else. I can get lots of stress and lots of work. But if nobody helps me regulate that, and I think that's a really powerful thing. But what if I, as a participant, maybe you have some other business cases as well, participant are thinking, it's very uncomfortable for me to get in a room with other people. And it might be people I don't know. They're not from my group. I'm going to expose myself, all that stuff.
I mean, there will be people that you won't know if you're to come on the program, because it is a maximum of 30 people, and we will deliberately and intentionally make sure they don't all come from the same company, because then it kind of can dominate, and actually the learnings would be diluted, I would say. Yeah. So there would definitely be people that you wouldn't know. And I think that's really, if that was the concern, then I would say more reason to do it, because how we do one thing is how we do everything. So if we're not, we're reluctant to show up in any situation, whether it's public speaking, whether it's a coaching room with other people in the room, whatever it is, we will be stopping ourselves from doing something courageous elsewhere in our life. So anyone who says this isn't for me because I don't want to show up vulnerably in front of other people, my question would be, where else might you be doing that? And what is the very, very worst thing that can happen? Because when we consider the worst thing and also like balance it out with what's the best thing that could happen, our soul, our innate thinking, the thing I'm getting from your Alchemist book, Michael, which I'm only a couple of chapters in, of like when we're the child and we are ready to just intuitively embrace the journey, that's when we are like, yes, that's when the best could happen. That's the very best that could happen here, that I feel connected, that I learn some new stuff, that I can show up as my true self, that I can make some new best business friends, you know, that I don't feel alone on this journey, and that I can be the best leader that I am here to be.
Oh, I love that. The step before courage is fear, isn't it? You don't get to courage without stepping on fear. Like you can't. So I totally back Sarah. Like if you're thinking this is going to be uncomfortable, then I go, that's your tick list, then you should be joining. Also, it's 30 people. It's not 6, you know, so there's still room for you to grow your confidence in it as well. You know, they're on Zoom. We'll have things where some people will want to think. There'll be learnings for you to think about before we go on the call, because some people want more time to think things through before they go to it. There's a community base for you to join, because some people might want to talk, some people might want to write. You know, people build their relationships and learn in different ways. And the way the program is going to be set out, you will be able to also use your style to be able to deliver and, you know, add on what you want to. So I don't think it has to. It's built for all different styles to feel like they'll belong.
Could you give a... Sorry, Sarah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and it's not just coaching. You know, it is community, and there's nobody will be forced to ask a coaching question or come live onto a call, and we're waiting for somebody to put their hand up. As Michelle said, there is a community platform that's being developed called Circle, which I've used in a number of different communities that I'm in. And it's nothing like Facebook. It's nothing like Slack. There's little spaces where you can celebrate your wins. You can introduce yourself. You can ask a question. We'll cut our live recordings of our calls on there too. And it's a way of really to immerse yourself. You might want to say, I'm on the rounds going around my businesses this Thursday night. Who wants to join? Like, it's a real community to nurture. And before we go on to the coaching calls, there'll always be a leadership tool and topic, something that will be the headline topic for that week, that will be shared ahead of time. An opportunity for people who do have questions or do have something they would like to be coached on live to be able to put that question in there. And then there's occasions where the group is tending to go in one way. We will move the agenda to however the group wants to go, because it's completely fluid. Whilst we've got this framework that is through the eight modules, which starts off with breaking through, which is understanding your values as your own personal values as a leader, and understanding your strengths as a leader, right the way through to taking everything that you've learned forward, with that accountability, with that community, with your new best business friends, taking all of that forward. If the modules, as we're feeling the group is wanting something else because of the kind of questions they're asking or how they're showing up, then we'll just move with them. Because we did quite a lot of research around this, meeting with some great trusted advisors that we really respect in the industry to make sure that we were onto something. And I met with David Carter, who is the ex-people director at Pret, and asked him, you know, if he'd had any similar experiences of coaching programs or leadership programs. And he said, and Michelle supports this from what she has done more recently with a group coaching program with a hotel group, is he said the number one thing that people have taken away from any of these, Pret did a massive leadership program, external one, where they met with different businesses, etc. The number one thing that people come away with, what's your number one lesson? What have you loved the most? The people I met. The people I met on the program and who I've connected with. So to provide that, the learnings are secondary to how we feel as individuals when we're surrounded by like-minded individuals.
What I was about to ask is, Sarah, was actually that thing, if you get a bit of a taster of and what's coming on the programs, and maybe also a bit about, how much do I need to do besides coming to the program? Well, how much work is there outside the program?
Well, it's a minimum of an hour a week is what we'd ask from people to show up for the calls. And that's at 7 o'clock for an hour every Tuesday evening, starting on the 28th of January. 28th. So every Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock for an hour. And the minimum we ask is that folk turn up for those. Beyond that, in life, we will get out what we put into it, right? So, and we see that in coaching, we see that in workshops, we see that with how, people on training courses, how much they implement soon after they go on any workshops tends to be the greatest impact they will have in taking those lessons forward. So, as long as you show up for the live masterclasses, great, perfect. Beyond that, there is so much to come from the leadership tools that'll be shared. There could be matrices, there could be stuff that you might be able to take away with you, from what you'll get from the community, from asking questions, from sharing stuff, accountability, like being able to say, okay, this is my goal for this week. I want to have 3 of these conversations that I've been avoiding as a leader, and Michael hold me accountable for that. Just having somebody that's got your back through the whole process, it can be so symbiotic, those learnings too. So the minimum is showing up, but there's so much more beyond that.
We're fluid, yeah. I've just written something down and gone, brilliant. We'll pick it up and add it on to the thing. Great idea. And I think there will be podcast shared, book shared, there will be different ways in which people can take from it as they want smaller relationships within this bigger community. And it'll be the minimum of the hour. Though I think it's also that thing of who shouldn't come. Yeah. Because I think that's really, and it's not about, if you're feeling uncomfortable, yeah, you definitely want to come. If you're playing lip service to it, somebody tells you that you think this would be good for you and you're not bought in, don't waste your time, don't waste our time, don't waste the other people's time on it, Come because you want to invest this time in you and know that no one's coming for you and that you want to do it, not because somebody said you should and then you're really not willing to go there to find out about, who am I and who do I want to make that even more.
Yeah. Michelle, you just reminded me of that. Somebody asked me this week, last week, why are you doing them at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night? Like, that's the worst time possible. And I said, well, is it? What else are you going to be doing at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night? Sitting on your laptop, catching up on the emails that you didn't do, perhaps in your head about what you've got to be doing, just to if we were to do it during the day, then there would be a meeting that your diary was crashed for. There'd be something there's always going to be something that we as humans can find a reason not to show up for something when all we're really doing is not showing up for ourselves.
I actually wrote that question down just before. Why Tuesday at 7 o'clock? And that's a brilliant reason also because it's probably quite calm, general in the business. So if you have a more senior role, you will probably be out of the fire at that point of time.
Yeah, for sure. And there isn't going to be a time that suits everyone, is there? There's going to be some businesses that are Monday to Friday because they work in the city, or there's going to be, somebody's got kids, somebody does a stock take on it. There's always going to be reasons, but we can always find the reasons to do something that we know will really benefit us and show.
Is there a question both of you maybe wished I've asked you around this program, and what would that question be, and what is the answer?
Oh, I think mine one, I might have already said it. Why shouldn't you join?
That was a good one, by the way.
I think I think that time though is one of them questions without us realising it. Like if you're thinking, oh no, I'm not doing that on a Tuesday at 7:00, no problem. Come to us next year when you've realised and seen it worked. We'll be here. We'll do it. You can come on cohort 2.
Yeah.
I was thinking about
maybe that is a question. It's one thing is like, when will we be running these again? I mean, we've made deliberately, because this is our first rodeo, 1, doing this together, and 2, launching this program. So we've made the price really, really accessible for 8 weeks at £400. That's, we would expect people to be joining that can self-fund it, and invest £50 in themselves a week, and also be sponsored by organizations. But we've made it accessible because we want to be able to have this impact, and also because it's the first time that we've done this together. And there will be loads of lessons, to understand really, how much bigger could we go with it? Could it get exactly? And my experience from a previous coach of mine who I was with for 2 years, she launched with a Monday night program, 7 to 8, an hour. And then she started doing Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, online coaching things. And now she does live events. Now, is that going to be the direction we go in? Who knows? If it is, then great, because that will show that there is really, really an audience for this, and it will be able to, obviously be having a great impact. But we do hope to do at least another 2 this year too. But it's likely to look a wee bit different as things do, as we all grow as individuals, and the program grows, but also the price is likely to increase, I would say, as we go forward.
Yeah, so this is the beta as well. So you are able to actually learn much more often, and actually also make the program better for the industry as you're joining as well, at a very fair price, as you say as well. Michelle, you have books behind you, and I need to ask you, if I was coming for the program, what book would you say of the books you have there? I can see some of them. Unreasonable Hospitality is one of them, but it doesn't have to be that one, because that's quite a senior book, I would say. But what book should I be reading to actually, if I really want to put the effort in and get the most out of this program?
I'd say Impact Players by Liz Wiseman. Yeah. Teaches you, I think it's about like 9 behaviors of what are the common characteristics of impact players, people who can influence, people who are successful. And one of them is learning to step up and step back. And I'll tell you another one that's really nice. She talks about this concept of making work light for people, that people enjoy working with you. You're good to have on a team, that you don't bring problems to the table. And I think it's a lovely idea of am I making work difficult for people at the moment by my own being? So that would be the book. Though we've got a bit of The Obstacle is the Way, Ryan Holiday Stoicism there for you, Michael, as well.
Yeah. That's a very good book, but I actually think the one you recommended would be a better starting point. I think Obstacle is the Way is actually when you've done the program, I would say.
Yes.
And then you're ready to eat the challenge and use it as real. Yeah.
Maybe that'll be our graduation book. But first one, Impact Players, Liz Wiseman. And she does an excellent podcast, a really good e-flyer, and does loads of little snippets on Instagram that are like 30 seconds. You just go, that's what I need. Like, great tool.
Great. We'll put that in the show notes as well. We'll put in a link. Where should I go this is super interesting, I want to do this. And I would say, if you don't know what your plan is next year, the best investment you can do is in yourself. And it always is. And then you will know what your plan is, and if it's your development plan or your business goals, start investing in yourself, and the road will open up in front of you.
Nice. Where should they go? There we go. LinkedIn.
I got a bit on a detour there, Michelle.
I was just engrossed in your... I was like,
Look at it. Work to do on sales, Michael. Work to do. It's called. Find us on LinkedIn on The Growth Collective, though both Sarah Clark on LinkedIn and me, Michelle Moreno on LinkedIn. We're sharing it all as well. So everything will be in the Growth Collective. You can join the wait list there. Though if you follow Sarah Clark with an E and Michelle Moreno, both of us are sharing, frequently throughout the week. And if you have any questions at any point, don't hesitate to inbox us, reach out to us and ask away any questions. Don't let the questions stop you impacting your own life.
Great. So you open doors and hotlines to any questions and doubts there's about the program.
Yes.
Great.
Cool.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing this great program. I'm sure it's going to make a massive difference for the industry. And if you're out there, sign up, do it. These two ladies are incredible human beings and mavericks, and it will have a huge impact on you. I'm 100% sure. I can't wait to hear the results as you move into to the new year and what kind of transformation you're going to create in all these great leaders, which we need in our industry more than ever to make a great experience for our employees and customers. So thank you once again for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michael.
Really appreciate it.